Hey guys, it's Sinem and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new here. So today I'm going to be doing a review on the brand new Huda Beauty Glowish Luminous Powder Plus Foundation. It's a pressed powder, but you can use it as foundation as well. You guys will see everything on this because, I mean, I won't say too much, but you'll see it throughout the review. Definitely stay to the end to hear my final thoughts on it and watch the whole video to just see everything on this powder. I hope you guys find the review helpful and enjoyable to watch. So without further ado, let's just jump straight into it. So jumping straight into the brand new Glowish Huda Beauty Luminous Powder Plus Foundation. I'm so excited to be going in with this. So I did prep my skin beforehand. I just used a primer and I went in with the Fourth Ray Watermelon Face Milk. And this one has no shimmer in it. I made sure to go in with like a hydrating primer slash moisturizer that doesn't have shimmer in there, so it's not going to disturb the powder. But I did need to just apply something because I do have dry skin, so that's why I just had to go in with something, you know, a little bit moisturizing to give a fair review. So I'm excited to go in with this. So I do have the shade Fair, which is the lightest one. They do also have Fair Light, which is the second shade, but it did look dark when I saw it. It just looked a little bit dark, so I felt like this would be the perfect match. And even then, this is the lightest shade and it still looks quite dark. It's very yellow, even though they say it has a neutral undertone. We'll get into all of that in the shade and stuff in a second, but just first impressions, it is a fair shade, but the fact that they say it's going to range for a lot of fair skin tones, I'm not sure. So this is what the packaging looks like on the box. Just white, same as the Glowish Dewy Skin Tint that I tested out for you guys. So yeah, it's called the Glowish Luminous Pressed Powder, and this is the packaging. And this is a clear packaging, very similar and almost, I think, the same size as the bronzer, which is this one right here, the Glowish bronzer. So this is it, again, in the shade Fair. I actually really like the packaging, it's really nice. So with this, the fair shade is for fair skin tones with a neutral undertone. And again, it's supposed to be a stretchable shade range. They do have 13 shades. So with this powder, it does say that it is a beautifully buildable powder and it feels like butter on the skin. It's supposed to be a silky, creamy, moisturizing powder and formula. So it's not supposed to be a drying powder. It's supposed to be just super creamy and just melt into the skin. It's also going to give you that luminous finish. So it has a lot of luminosity in there. It's infused with antioxidants, skin-loving ingredients, with rose oil, vitamin E and red bell pepper extract. It's natural looking and it feels lightweight on the skin, and it's also supposed to blur the pores. So let's go ahead and test it out. It looks really full coverage straight away, especially on this sponge. Okay. Okay, this feels so weird because it's legit just like a powder. Going back in with more. It's a very interesting product. Personally, it's not giving much coverage. Although, stepping back, it's giving off a really beautiful luminosity. So I feel like you have to keep going in with a lot to really get in there. Let's go ahead on the forehead. I will say the shade definitely does work. Yeah, definitely works, especially when you do your bronzer and blush. I'm just going to put the brightness down so you guys can see. Yeah, it's really pearly. It is more of a, you know, natural lightweight powder, and it definitely feels very light on the skin. It almost feels like nothing. It's covered enough. It's not full coverage. I'd say it's like medium coverage on this side, and it definitely gives me just that radiant glow. Now I will say with my blemishes and all, it does accentuate them, and I do have dry skin, and it's not looking dry, which is great, maybe because of the primer underneath, which I would recommend anyway. Whether you have oily skin or dry skin, always just use a moisturizer underneath a powder anyway. But I will say it's just too pearly and metallic. As you can see on the nose, it's very metallic here, and I just don't think I would walk out the house with this all over. Does that make sense? Like, I feel like this would be great as a finishing powder. So I will have to try that in another video to do as a finishing powder and see how it sets on top of foundation. But just because this is a powder review, I'm just giving you guys like the full on, you know, first impression. So I'm just building it up a little bit and I'm just tapping it into the skin this time. And yeah, it definitely gives more coverage when you apply more layers. I'm just not really a fan of this like metallic glowiness. I just think it's a little too much, you know, especially if you have oily skin. I think this is more for someone who has like perfect skin combination or dry skin, because I think if you have oily skin, I feel like the oiliness and then the metallicness and pearliness in this powder is just gonna look too much on your skin. It's just gonna look too shiny, you know. So now I'm gonna go ahead and try it with a fluffier brush and see if it's gonna look maybe just less metallic and maybe give a nicer finish. So I'm just gonna go ahead and just buff this in. So I don't know if that really did much. I will say it added like maybe just a little tint of powder, just a very light amount, which to be honest, I think, can you see it's still giving that glow? I think I like it a lot more with a fluffier brush because it's giving my skin just a little bit of coverage and evening it out, as you can tell, but it looks way more natural and more just naturally glowy, whereas this side just looks a little too heavy and almost looks cakey. Even though she says it's not supposed to be a cakey powder, literally that is the claim of this powder. She said it all over Instagram, all over on the website, like it's not supposed to be a cakey product, and I just personally feel like it looks very cakey and very just weird and metallic, whereas this side with this brush, I feel like it just looks a lot more sheer and beautifully like luminous. Does that make sense? So I would 100% probably use this with a brush like this, and if you have this product and you don't like it with the sponge, go ahead and use it with this sort of brush as well, because I feel like it just gives you the perfect amount of luminosity whilst covering the skin, evening it out, making it look super smooth without it looking like just heavy and too metallic. Personally, I would wear this two ways. I would wear it all over, like if I'm just running out the door and I want something quick that's gonna look dewy and that's also gonna give me a little bit of coverage, I'd use it with this. I'll just go in, dust it all over, buff it into the skin, and I'll be good to go like that. Or I will use it on top of my foundation. By itself, to use like full coverage and as foundation with a sponge with a really dense brush, I just personally would not do that. So I'm going to go in with the Tarte Shape Tape in Light Sand. It is a little bit of a darker shade, but it's just what I have on my table at the moment. So, you know, it is a powder as well, so I really wonder how other products are going to sit on top of it. I'm just going to press the concealer underneath my eyes. So I just applied a little bit of concealer and it blended nicely on top. Didn't interfere with the powder. It didn't lift off the powder as well. And it blended in really nicely. So yeah, that's a great sign. I will say as well, just looking, I don't know if you'll be able to tell, but just looking at my forehead, I can see a little bit of texture. That's just, the powder's just gripping to that texture just a little bit. And yeah, as I mentioned, I think if you have textured skin, very dry skin, or a lot of blemishes, this product is not for you because it is going to accentuate it. Unless you use it on top of a foundation as a finishing powder, then it'll be fine. But if you're going to go in with it to use by itself as an actual foundation powder, I would not recommend it for those of you who have like acne or anything, because it's really just going to accentuate and make your skin look very pearly. I'm going to go in with the Huda Beauty Glowish bronzer because why not? Let me know what you guys think, just first impressions as well. Comment down below what you think. If you own it as well, what did you think about it? So this is what it looks like with the bronzer. I will say this is a really, really, really nice bronzer, and it just didn't interfere with the powder. My skin doesn't look powdery. My skin definitely does look smooth and luminous, which I like. And again, this wasn't without like a liquid foundation. And I feel like my skin has just been covered and evened out, and it looks smooth. I'm using the Makeup Revolution blush in Rose Kiss. Everything will be linked down below, including the powder foundation. So I don't know. I think with products on top, it definitely works. It's not patchy. It's working with other products. Can even go over it as well with the brush. I'm 50-50, guys. I'm 50-50. I'm torn. I am torn. Let me know what you guys think. I'll have to give you my final thoughts. I'm 50-50 on it. I think I love it using it with a brush like this, either on its own or I feel like on top of foundation it's gonna look amazing. But on its own, as they say, like using it as a foundation and just with a sponge and getting the most coverage out of it, I really didn't like it. I felt like my skin just looked too pearly. It just, like, even still on the nose, I just don't like it. It just looks very odd. And I do have dry skin, and listen, it worked on dry skin. It's definitely not a drying powder. I've tried even more drying powders. It's definitely a more silkier, creamier powder. But I think because of that pearliness, it is accentuating dryness, it is accentuating texture and blemishes. And it's really just not a product that you can just walk out the door with if you do have problem skin and you don't want that to be shown, right? So I think, again, it's just for those of you who have maybe perfect looking skin, who doesn't have texture, and maybe you like this sort of finish, like just that pearly finish. A lot of people do, but Huda, the way that she was promoting it on Instagram and everywhere, she was literally going in every single video with a sponge and applying it. You can go and check out on her Instagram. That is how she's promoting it. That is how she is saying that you can wear it, and I just didn't like to wear it that way. Like, I didn't like how it looked on the skin. So again, I'm going to be using it with this or on top of foundation, which I cannot wait to try. I will be doing a full face of Huda Beauty very soon, so stay tuned for that. It will probably be coming in November. So yes, full face of Huda Beauty, that will be back in the video again, testing it out on top of like a foundation. So I hope you guys found it enjoyable and also helpful. Leave me all your thoughts down below. Let me know what you think of the powder, and I will let you guys go now. So until next time, I'll speak to you guys all in my next video.